U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to seek governance reforms. Today is Thursday, January 11th, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to seek governance reforms. It's part of a plan to rally the region behind a post-war vision for Gaza that includes concrete steps toward a Palestinian state. Blinken says he has secured commitments from multiple countries in the region to assist with rebuilding and governing Gaza after the war against Hamas, but only if there is a pathway to a Palestinian state. That approach faces serious obstacles, beginning with the Israeli government's adamant opposition to Palestinian statehood. The effort would also have to grapple with the Western-backed Palestinian leadership's lack of legitimacy among its own people. Yemen's Houthi rebels have fired their largest ever barrage of drones and missiles targeting shipping in the Red Sea, forcing the United States and British navies to shoot down the projectiles in a major naval engagement. The attack by the Iranian-backed Houthis came despite a planned United Nations Security Council vote, later Wednesday, to potentially condemn such actions. The proposal would also demand an immediate halt to attacks by Houthis, who say their assaults are aimed at stopping Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza. However, their targets increasingly have little connection to Israel. The violence imperils a crucial trade route linking Asia and the Middle East to Europe, raising the risk of a U.S. retaliatory strike on Yemen. Security camera video from a West Bank village shows a young man standing in a central square when he is suddenly shot and drops to the ground. Seconds later, two others rushing to his aid are also hit, killing a 17-year-old just before an Israeli military jeep arrives. An Associated Press review of the video and interviews with the two wounded men indicate that Israeli soldiers opened fire on the three, although they did not appear to pose a threat. Last week's fatal shooting is the latest in a series of events in which Israeli soldiers appear to fire on Palestinians without provocation. A legal battle over whether Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza amounts to genocide opens Thursday at the United Nations top court. 2 days of preliminary hearings at the International Court of Justice will examine South Africa's call for judges to order an immediate suspension of Israel's military actions. Israel stringently denies the genocide allegation. The case that is likely to take years to resolve strikes at the heart of Israel's national identity as a Jewish state created in the aftermath of the Nazi genocide in the Holocaust. It also involves South Africa's identity. Its ruling African National Congress Party has long compared Israel's policies in Gaza and the West Bank to its own history under the apartheid regime of white minority rule. Schools and stores are shuttered. Many people stayed home, and soldiers are roaming the streets of Ecuador's biggest cities after armed gang members invaded a television station live afternoon newscast. The intruders wielding explosives and guns flashed across the TVs of Ecuadorians for 15 minutes on Tuesday as the intruders threatened and assaulted employees of the TC television network in the coastal city of Guayaquil. The brazen show of force was unprecedented in violence-plagued Ecuador and elicited a strong government response. "We are in a state of war, and we cannot give in," President Daniel Noboa said. Wednesday, as security forces guarded hospitals, public transit, and newsrooms, and arrested more than 330 on terror charges. Tech companies of all sizes are showing off their latest gadgets at CES 2024 in Las Vegas. And that includes new technology that's changing the world of food and drinks. There are AI-powered appliances like air fryers and grills, a cocktail mixing machine that serves as your own personal bartender at home, and a robot barista whose movements are meant to mimic a human. The food tech at CES 2024 is transforming the way meals are prepped, cooked, and delivered, and with artificial intelligence and chef-like robots, humans may not need to cook for themselves anymore. Areas across the globe have seen spring snowpack shrink over the last 40 years, and a new study says for many of them, climate change is clearly to blame. Wednesday's study in the journal Nature finds a key threshold for the future of snowpacks in the Northern Hemisphere. 17.6 degrees. In places where the winter average is colder than that, often the snowpack survives because it's cold enough. But areas warmer than 17.6 degrees for a winter average, like the upper Colorado River Basin, tend to see their winter wonderland dreams melt. And it's bad news for water supply. A smiling and joking Alexei Navalny has appeared in court via video link from the Arctic Penal Colony, where he is serving a 19-year sentence. It's the first time that the Russian opposition leader has been shown on camera since his transfer to the remote prison last month. Russian media released video of Navalny in black prison garb and a buzz cut, joking about the Arctic weather and saying that conditions were better there than at his old prison. The video came during a hearing in a courtroom in the Vladimir region in central Russia on a lawsuit he filed against prison officials at a penal colony near there before his transfer. Navalny alleges he was punished for bogus reasons. The head of the UN Health Agency says holiday gatherings and the spread of the most prominent variant globally led to increased transmission of COVID-19 last month. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says nearly 10,000 deaths were reported in December, while hospital admissions during the month jumped 42% in nearly 50 countries, mostly in Europe and the Americas. That shared such trend information. He says the JN.1 variant is now the most prominent in the world, and it's certain that COVID cases are rising in countries that didn't report data to WHO. Agency officials expect COVID and other respiratory diseases to continue spreading through the Northern Hemisphere's winter. A group of armed, masked men in Ecuador launched an audacious attack on a television station during a live broadcast, and so revealed the country's spiraling violence in the wake of an apparent recent prison escape. The imprisoned leader of a drug gang mysteriously vanished from his cell in the coastal city of Guayaquil on Sunday, prompting the government to declare a state of emergency. On Tuesday, thousands of viewers tuned in to TC Television watched live as the men threatened presenters and studio hands with firearms and what appeared to be sticks of dynamite. Sounds resembling shots were audible, as well as pleas and moans of pain. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Thursday, January 11th, 2024. Thanks again for joining us at the Dunkley Report.